This episode is sponsored by FX's American Horror Story, Delicate, starring a female-led ensemble cast, which marks the highly anticipated return of fan favorite Emma Roberts to the franchise. Delicate also will be introducing some fresh blood, featuring Kim Kardashian in a role that was specifically written with her in mind, along with Cara Delevingne, who will both be joining the AHS family for the first time. FX's American Horror Story, Delicate, Part 1 premieres September 20th on FX. Stream on Hulu.
This year has been one for the record books, but that's not necessarily something to celebrate. Canada saw its worst fire season in history, with more than 20 million acres burned across the country. The National Fire Protection Association reports that the wildfire that's recently devastated Maui is one of the deadliest in U.S. history. And experts at NASA report that these fires are only getting worse. As global temperatures increase, we're experiencing longer periods of drought that create dry conditions for these fires to thrive, burning hotter and longer than we've seen before. Not only does this decimate land, crops, and habitats, but the wildfire smoke has heavily impacted the air quality all across America.
Right now, we're seeing a lot of impact to air quality around the country from wildfire smoke. That might be fires within the United States or fires up in Canada, but the particles in the smoke can travel hundreds and thousands of miles. For example, out in New York City, earlier this summer, we saw really bad air quality where typically we think of the poor air quality being in the West, where they do have more wildfires.
That's Dr. Nikki Bars McCullough, a respiratory protection expert at 3M Company. And though wildfires have been in the news recently, she says they're not the only culprit when it comes to poor air quality. Many of us are familiar with the effects of vehicle exhaust and factory emissions on our environment. But did you know that extreme heat can be a contributor as well?
When we have extreme heat conditions, that really dries everything out. And the more we have everything dried out, we're going to see the particles getting dust and dirt from fields, from roads getting kicked up into the air. We might see sandstorms created. We also can see certain weather events that just really creates stagnant air so that the air is really staying in one place and those particles are building up.
This summer, Death Valley National Park in California recorded one of the hottest temperatures in world history at 129 degrees Fahrenheit. States like Nevada and Arizona also experienced record-breaking heat. And like Bars McCullough mentioned, this heat only worsens our air quality, which directly impacts our health.
If you have been outside recently when the air quality is really poor, you might notice that your eyes are irritated. You might notice your throat is scratchy. You might be coughing. Personally, I get headaches. And those are all signs, sort of short-term signs. Now, some people, children, the elderly, or people with heart and lung disease, they might have symptoms earlier than the rest of us or worse symptoms than the rest of us because they do tend to be more vulnerable.
The World Health Organization estimates that 7 million people worldwide die each year from polluted air. In fact, 1/3 of all deaths from stroke, heart disease, and lung cancer are caused by toxic air. And though you may assume air quality is worse in highly populated cities from all the cars and public transportation, you can't escape it by moving to the suburbs. Bars McCullough says air pollution is everywhere, especially during wildfire season when the winds carry smoke for hundreds of miles.
Air quality really isn't necessarily tied to cities or rural areas because there's so many factors involved. So in rural areas, we might see more air pollution from roads and fields. In cities, we might see it more from vehicle exhaust. But also, wildfire smoke can blow, again, across the whole country. So I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we're getting a lot of poor air quality this summer from Canadian fires thousands of miles away.
And while wildfires have certainly been a main focus this year, Bars McCullough says we can't just blame one element. The issue is widespread, from harmful emissions and industrial operations to hurricanes and flooding. And as we see the shift toward electric vehicles and more sustainable manufacturing processes, Bars McCullough says we ultimately need to reduce the number of particles humans put into the air.
So when we do have wildfire events where there's smoke, or volcanoes where there's ash in the air. We just don't have more extra particles in the air. Inside your home too, though, it's really important when the air quality is bad outside that you're not adding even more particles inside your home. So you want to avoid burning candles or making a fire in the fireplace, or even certain types of cooking.
Natural gas stoves can release harmful pollutants like carbon monoxide, and the wood smoke from using a wood stove or fireplace can also pollute the air. Aside from these tips, Bars McCullough says that when the air quality outside is bad, stay indoors and seal up your house however you can.
Keep your windows closed, keep your doors closed. Try and keep those outside particles from getting inside your home. But they are so small, and we do have to go in and out of the home, so they may get inside your home. And then you want to take steps to keep your home, the indoor air in your home, as clean as possible.
Which means that buying a quality air filter or purifier for your house may be a necessary investment, especially since wildfires and extreme temperatures are only projected to get worse.
So if you have an HVAC system, you do want to use a high efficiency filter in that HVAC system, one like a Filtrete filter. And you want to see if you can get that fan in your HVAC system running continuously, using a high efficiency filter with a high rating, and then keeping track of when it's appropriate to change the filter. Not all homes have HVAC systems. I live in a really old house and I just have radiators. So I use a portable room air purifier in my rooms with a high efficiency filter to try and have some air filtration inside my home when I know that the air outside is smoky.
Unfortunately, not all of us have the luxury of being able to work from home. While some people may have to brave a walk to the office, others spend their whole days working outside, like those in construction, farming, or landscaping. Bars McCullough says in these instances, it's best to wear an N95 respirator mask.
We've gotten pretty used to these N95s over the last 3 years, and N95s are designed to form a seal to your face. So you really want to pick one that's going to touch your face all the way around the edge of it and use it like the directions say. And what that does is it means the air is going through the filter. And when the air goes through the filter, it can help remove some of those very, very small particles, which means you will be less exposed to them. You'll breathe fewer in when you use that N95 properly.
The CDC and Environmental Protection Agency offer more guidance on the health risks of polluted air, as well as more options to protect yourself the next time your area receives a hazardous air quality alert. You can find more information about Dr. Nikki Bars McCullough and all of our guests on our website, radiohealthjournal.org. For more behind the scenes, follow Radio Health Journal on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Our writer-producer is Kristen Farah. Our production manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Nancy Benson. Coming up next week on Radio Health Journal.
There's kind of more options there for men, whereas for women, this has to be done in this one way. And it's so technical and so expensive and really hard to access for so many.
The added burden of fertility preservation after a cancer diagnosis.
Then we're breaking down the facts and myths of dietary protein.
As people think about how they can incorporate protein in their diet, think long term. Don't just think in the now, think long term.
All that and more on Radio Health Journal. I'm Elizabeth Westfield, host of Radio Health Journal. If you enjoy listening to Radio Health Journal, you'll also like our sister show, Viewpoints, which covers a wide array of topics from education to history to the environment. Here's a preview of what they're covering this week on Viewpoints.
I don't think Threads is done yet. I think they really want to go after people that are using Twitter or X.
Will Threads, the new concept by Meta, sink or swim? Then,
right now, I'm working with a lot of recent college graduates who are having a really tough time having those informational interviews for jobs because the idea of meeting someone new and trying to have a conversation with them seems like a boulder.
The life skills young people are lacking. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price.
These stories in depth this week on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
Listen to Viewpoints on your favorite radio station, iTunes, and Stitcher.
And that's Radio Health Journal for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more. And check Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify for a library of past programs. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and information about our guests at radiohealthjournal.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Radio Health Journal.
It's time to get your checking account to zero with free checking from PenFed. That's zero ATM fees, zero balance requirements, and zero time spent waiting for your paycheck to direct deposit because you can receive it up to 2 days early. Open your account with just $25 and see how big zero can be. Apply online today at penfed.org/free checking. Early direct deposit eligibility may vary between pay periods and timing of payers' funding. To receive any advertised product, you must become a member of PenFed, insured by NCUA.